and welcome to McD Guitars. We're here today on episode 11 of our new journey, and I think we're going to get pretty close to wrapping this journey up. This won't be the last episode, but it's going to be pretty close. So, got lots of fun stuff to do today. So let's jump in and see where we can get, and I'll see you guys at the end, and we'll wrap this up. And I can't wait to plug this one in. It's going to be nice. So we'll see you guys in a little bit. All right. Just a quick overview here of where we're starting at today. We gotten pretty good. I have gotten all of the finish sanding done that I need to. So we can continue on and start the finishing process. And here we go. I'm using Liberon Black Bison paste wax here in clear. And this has been one of my favorite finishes on a guitar. This stuff really shines up and polishes good. It brings a lot of life to this burl, and there's a bunch of different ways you can go here. It actually is pretty smart to use an UV inhibitor when you have a camphor burl. But I'm hoping Eric's not going to be playing too many outdoor festivals in the near future, so did not go that route on this round. So hopefully this guitar will stay in a case a lot of the times and not be exposed to direct sunlight through a window. But yeah, we do, as we work through this, man, all these woods have a lot of luster, and definitely by the end of this episode, we'll get some close-up pictures and do it some real justice. Yeah, I've actually gotten to the point now where we've got 3 coats on here. Did a coat, let it sit for 2 hours, did a coat, let it sit for 2 hours, and did another coat. And I'm pretty happy with where we're at. We may still do a little bit more polishing before we are considered finished, but for all intents and purposes, it's looking really good, and I think you guys are gonna like it when you see it. I am applying the wax with very, very fine steel wool. You can see the pickups are nowhere near the guitar, so I'm not too worried about it. And then I go through a couple different, I have a microfiber cloth there, and I end up with the polishing cloth in the end. I felt did a little better work with the polishing, but as far as application went, there we go. Here's a taste. See what you guys think. It really started bringing the character out of that burl, I think. And I still couldn't get quite the right sun this day, but hopefully by the end of this video, you get a peek of the sides and everything going on. So it's time to make a nut. First, you can see here we're squaring our nut and getting some dimensions. So we just want to make sure we're square with the bottom of our channel and the back of the fretboard. And now we're going to do a little widthening to make sure it fits in our slot between our headstock veneer and the fretboard. It's like we're getting pretty close here. Here we're going to go ahead and cut down the sides for its width, and you can see we're at a little angle there, and the nut generally is going to flare out a little bit as the headstock flares out. So, file to file, you can see we do have human wrists, so you got to really pay attention to that angle. It's easy to get even a section of it off kilter, and bone's no fun to correct. So if you do it right the first time, it makes life easy. For most of the nut work, I like to use a mill file. It gives you a really smooth, polished surface, and if you're gentle, it can help with any kind of, cracks or flakes that can happen with bone material when you're working it. Eventually, we'll go to some sandpaper and through the grits to polish it up, but right now we're just getting that shape. Whoa, steady there. Now we've got us some pencil marks for our string spacing, and we're going to start making the channels. Start with our smallest file and just get a straight line worked out for each of them. And then we can go through the steps. You can see here, now we're on to our second, I believe. And then we'll go third. And just work our way up to sizes. Again, this is just kind of our base measurement. I really like to put it in the guitar like this and work it as we go. We generally want to be 20 thousandths ish off that first fret on our fat strings, and maybe down to 15 ish is a good start for our smaller strings. And yeah, you can it's going to be a while. I definitely take my time to work through this, and it's better to be accurate and take longer to me than to have to start over. Making nuts for a guitar is something that experience helps a lot with, and I'm still in that growing experience period, so been real happy with the way this one turns out in the end. Fit, form, and finish should be pretty good on this one. Now that we've got our string depths pretty well lined out, we're going to go ahead and take material off the top of that nut. And basically on our fat strings, we want about half of that string sitting out of the nut. And on our thinner strings, we want them just sitting in the nut. So kind of back and forth and work those out. And yeah, keep it pretty at the same time. Let's see, we have our string measurement gauge there that we're going to constantly go back and forth through, really fine tuning those slots and getting to where we want to be. This is a very long process for me, but it's also a very rewarding one. You can just take the time and maintain some focus. This is definitely one of the most important pieces of our end product here, as far as playability and tuning stability factors for this guitar. Getting strings on this guitar, wow, it is really loud acoustically. Just playing it, obviously we have not got electronics yet, and yeah, I'm really excited to see how it sounds electronic also. But it's the first thing that everyone I've shown noticed is, man, when you strum this guitar, it has some volume. So hopefully we have some good construction going on here, and can't wait for these final days to wrap up and be able to play this thing. Very exciting. The best part is I know I'm going to have a little bit of time before Eric shows up to pick it up, so I get to play this guy for a while. It should be nice. While going through these, it's really important to keep track of what you're doing and keep that file in the right angle. We don't want the front to roll off and have the string supported in the middle of the nut. That's going to give us problems. We also don't want the channel to be completely flat, as it'll just be too much contact. So we need to make sure that the string is taking off from the front of the nut and that channel is slowly rolling off towards the back. And we'll get into that in a little bit here, but then we'll also kind of give it a little wider channel on the back of the nut. That way, if whatever tiny bit of angle that string is coming from the tuner, it'll enter our nut correctly. Yeah, it sure is a lot of fun to get through there and finally get to a spot where you're getting happy and work. But yeah, it's important. All this work that just went in was making sure it was done correctly. And you start rushing, you can go astray pretty quick. And we made it. Now we're kind of lopping off that back angle of the nut for looks and just to keep that, oh hey, there's my hair. And yeah, we just want to start shining this thing up, look nice, make sure all of our string channels are in good shape. And yeah, now we're starting to run through some grits here and pretty this baby up. Still a tiny bit wide on the sides there, so we got to work that down. And yeah, polishing that off. We are finally on to some fretwork. I'm digging it. First, we're going to go through there and check, make sure all of our frets are flat and level with each other. And these, using a press and doing good prep work, I've had really good success with having level frets. And, this one was really close. I think there was 2 frets, maybe maybe a tiny bit on the 3rd fret and somewhere around like the 13th or 14th fret. Tiny bit of highness in there, and we'll work that out. You can see here I decided to go ahead and just knock off the edges of the fret, get that done. And I've gotten so much better at this. I used to take way too much material off every time I did this, and now I just nipping off the edge to make it comfortable. As long as it doesn't stick to your finger, you don't need to round all of it off into nothing. It does have a visual appearance at the end. When you're doing this, it really is important to get your body in the right position. If you're filing at an angle that's not a comfortable stroke with your arm, you're not going to do as good of a job as if you just take the time, spin your guitar around, stand on the other side, and work in a really comfortable area. Here I got out our toughest grit fret eraser, and I started working, and the frets that were out of height were so slight, I really could have worked with them on an individual basis. But there was enough scratches from filing that fret eraser was going to take me all day. So we're just going to do it. We're going to bust out and just give our frets a quick level. And we'll take care of those 2 high frets and any kind of scratch marks we had in the process. I thought I might get away with doing some light to no some crowning here, but here we are. There's a little bit of fall away there, just real slight, but we did want to make sure we got that in there. And yeah, we're looking good. The crowning won't be very hard on this. There's a very slight amount of material taken off. I've went and just higher and higher grit on that sanding beam, doing fret work over time. I was like just taking it off slow. I don't mind if I have to spend 5 extra minutes with that leveling beam if I'm taking tiny bits of material off in the process. But here we are. Crowning is really scary when you first start doing it, and I'm really just finally starting to feel confident to be able to jump in there and just swing at it and not mess it up and have to re-level the frets. So coming along. And again, this is kind of the deal with the body positioning, I mean, you can see I'm struggling to get an angle on here, and with those horns and where we're at, just got to take my time and get in there where I can. And you can see having to go at both angles to get a single fret done. So slow and easy wins the race on that one. Start to polish and clean this guy up, and man, looking back, I'm not finding any footage for the hours of fret erasing I did. So you just have to use your imagination there and know that you get to see these frets in a few minutes. What could this mean? Whew. All right, well, here we are at the end of another episode, and I am pretty stoked with that. Hope you guys are digging that. I know I am, and yeah, as you saw in that last picture, getting ready to turn the camera on and do some wiring, and so I read through some manuals and kind of got back to speed what I was doing. I realized I'm a whole potentiometer short here, and well, let's just say I don't want to drill another hole in this guitar. I easily could, but I like the way we're looking, so I went ahead and sourced an extremely thin push-pull pot from CTS, and that'll be here in a few days, and then we can continue on with finishing this guy up. Yeah, you know, we have piezo, and we need a volume for acoustic. It's pretty important part of it. So we will have volume, 3-way toggle, tone, push-pull acoustic volume, kill switch, 3-way toggle, electric, acoustic, and a split coil for each pickup. So that's where we're going to be. Well, yeah, we'll just wait for that to get going. And yeah, pretty stoked here. We've also, the Flying V is pretty far along. I haven't shared any footage yet, but I do have footage of it all. So as we're wrapping this up, we'll definitely turn the tides and start building this pretty awesome Flying V. And yeah, I've got a couple other guitar builds going at the moment too. And I've decided that we got to talk about the guitar giveaway, right? Rolling around, thinking of different ways to do it. And from here on forward, I'm just going to start including tidbits of the guitar I'm building for a free guitar giveaway. And if you're interested in getting a free guitar from the giveaway, I would just ask you to include me in the giveaway in the comments below. And yeah, I will tally up all of those until the guitar is finished, and I'll just put them all in a hat and pick one out. So that's how I decided I'm going to move forward on this first guitar giveaway. Is I'm going to build this exact model of guitar with it'll have a white limba back, quilted maple top, and the neck will probably be white limba, and fretboard, and good chance will probably be ebony. And you know, we'll see what, you know, obviously hardware will be a decision, but probably we'll just go with standard nickel frets, and yeah, we'll make my own decisions. And yeah, we'll see if enough people dig it. Maybe people will enter and try to get a guitar for free, but that's where we're gonna go. And then on that aspect, last episode I mentioned I am interested in getting into acoustic guitar making. So as you see here, I've got a new addition to the workshop, and boy, am I loving it. My arms are thanking me. For anyone who's been along the McD Guitars journey for a while, you'll know that I have been doing a lot of thickness sanding and flatten sanding by hand over here in the Middle Ages. And now I've got a drum sander, so it's going to really help with starting to get into acoustic level thicknesses of wood. And yeah, so we've got the first piece of the puzzle. We got to start building some jigs. Kind of roll it around whether or not there's, you know, form jigs. I may just purchase something, you know, StuMac, something to that extent. But we'll see. I may also just say, hey, I don't want to spend that money and make it myself. We'll make that decision as we go. But yeah, until then, we got to finish this guy up. Chomping at the bit now. It's hard to want to get into the other guitar work when I'm so close, and I've only got a couple days for this last piece to show up. But keep myself running over here, and we'll keep working towards our goals. And yeah, we'll see you guys real soon with this guy plugged in and playing some electric guitar. Can't argue with that, right? So I really appreciate everyone tuning in, and until we get this guy finished up, we'll see you guys next time. All right.